I am the queen of my throne. 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 They gon' hate when we get on.
And welcome back to our show, What's Really Going On? I'm Dr. Karen Walker.
And I'm Wynteezy.
And we're talking about socio-economic differences.
Yes, during the pandemic, everybody's just been trying to adjust, dealing with differences.
Yeah, I mean, even before the pandemic, I mean, it's just been a wild ride. I mean, whether we're talking about the dollar, the euro, the yen, I mean, any type of money, it can really just level the playing field.
Just wherever you are across the globe, we just have this constant challenges. So let's jump right in.
And let's find out what's really going on. All right, and now welcome to the show, Manuela from Boston. So tell us what's really going on with socioeconomic differences from your experience.
I am so happy to be here today to share some of my experiences. Today I will talk a little bit about digital divide, some medical issues that I experience, also jobs, interviews, and also about the school, college.
Sure.
So when the pandemic started, I decided to volunteer, and I went for 1 year with Commonwealth Corps here in Boston. I was a coach for women in this program for One Family, which is a nonprofit in Boston. And I realized at that point that a lot of people, especially minorities, did not have the same access to internet. And they also, the ones that we were able to help, they were not able to actually work with the technology. So there was two issues right there. Was the fact, one was that there was a difference of, I would say, like income level, where some of the women did not have any ways of having internet service.
Yeah. So Manuela, let me just interrupt you there. So, I mean, so it's hard to even just comprehend that. I mean, how can someone not have access to internet? Can you just help us understand that a little bit?
So in Boston, this for minorities, unfortunately, COVID did not really show anyone something that it was not already there. So there was already people that did not have a chance to have internet. Like I would say, for example, before the internet, I'll give my own example. Before the internet, when I was doing my general studies, sometimes I could not go to school because I didn't have a car. I was not working at that point, so there was no way I could afford to have internet. So what I did, I logged into a hair salon across the street, and that's actually how I finished my general studies with their service. Luckily, I live in a fortunate city that has a lot of hot spots, and so I can get it. But for a lot of these women, they live in areas in Boston that are not so fortunate, and so there's no service. So they coming to our program, which was a program to actually educate women in how to go to college, how to go back to college. They didn't not have access to internet. They didn't have money to pay. Now talking about the pandemic, and they also experienced a lot of issues in regards to how to deal with the technology skills, like for example, just uploading a document or saving it into a folder. So these people, this woman did not have any clue in how to do it, and it was very hard to see it. And I experienced myself before. Thanks God, I found a way to educate myself and learn, but there's still a lot of people out there that for many reasons can't do it. If a mother has like 3 kids, they don't have time to go, sometimes they don't have no choice. Minorities have a lot of other issues that
right. And so you wrote an article recently I saw that was on LinkedIn that talked about, the struggles for families who aren't able to get internet access, and then they're required, to kind of do this online studies, and their challenges to maybe even have to get internet at fast food restaurants, or to get free internet, and the burden that can put on a family. What have you seen businesses do to put in place to try to help those families?
So specifically, we were doing a research on digital divide, and I found out that in Detroit, there is this famous actor that I forgot his name. I know he's the husband of Lisa Monet, and I forgot his name. But
I know what you're talking about.
He was working
Jason Mendoza or something like that. Jason.
Yes, he was trying to put together this resources with the city of Detroit in order to have everything, like everyone that's in the same place, because the pandemic exposed the need of internet. I think everybody saw this little boy or girl that was doing the homework in the parking lot of McDonald's.
Oh, wow.
So then Boston, because I think Boston must have picked up somehow. There was a lot of issues, right? And there was a lot of kids in school during the pandemic. There was a lot of kids that were in home schooled, and they didn't have a computer, and the parents didn't have no skills, not even in how to open a computer. And also there was this issue of internet, so not everybody had this service available to them. And so that was kind of sad and frustrating for us, It was, to me, it was really hard. Now imagine on top of that, with the pandemic, for people like I had this issue, there's still people out there. So Boston created this package that is like $50 a month. But in my point of view, that doesn't make any change, because it's not just, to me, it's not just giving the internet to people. It's also educating them in how to use the internet.
Right, how to use it.
So that's another issue.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, so you've highlighted though that, they're trying to kind of bridge the gap, for people that need access, but there's still a gap there, in the education for how to use the internet. So there's quite a bit there still needed for the community. So I appreciate you just highlighting that. So if people want to connect with you there in Boston, we have your email for them to reach out to you at m_evans5@post.massbay.edu. We'll make sure we get that up on the screen.
Yes, thank you. I had so much more to share. Unfortunately, time is limited. But if anyone wants to hear more, I'm more than happy to share.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure having you on our show. That's what's really going on. Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Walker, the host of What's Really Going On, the show. And what I love best about the show is that we get to ask people what's really going on in their lives and with real topics. We want to know about your experiences of hot topics, and they get sticky. So if you want to be a participant on What's Really Going On, email us at Dr. Combat Pink. That's drcombatpink@gmail.com. Please, we want to hear from you, and we want to know what's really going on. And now, welcome to the show, Rob from New York. And Rob's going to tell us from all of his travels, his experiences with socioeconomic differences. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you, and good morning, ladies. What a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having me.
So you've been all over several different countries. I mean, how many?
So more than 50. I believe the count is 51.
Wow.
That's
awesome. And you've taught yourself a couple of languages, right?
That's correct.
So you speak, I think, 5 counting English, right? So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So basically, I've always just been a curious person, and the more I traveled, the more curious I got about the world, the more I wanted to see the world, and the more I saw the world, the more I realized the need to communicate with the world. And I realized that in a lot of these places, especially in more rural zones, I couldn't necessarily communicate with people just in English. So I had to learn other languages in order to be able to do so, which spurred me to learn Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, and Mandarin.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow, yeah, I can't even imagine what that's like. I mean, but I think what is so appealing about the, travels that you've been on is just living there, right? And being with the people. I mean, tell us what's really going on with the differences in these different countries.
Sure. I mean, I've seen things, ranging from, luxury apartments and villas to the slums in India. There really are grand differences in socioeconomic status around the world. And I think a lot of times um, here in the United States, a lot of us tend to take things for granted. We have access to a lot of wonderful resources that a lot of other folks don't.
Yeah, I mean, you also have a book that just came out, right?
Oh my goodness, look at that. I do. And you two have it in your hands. That's
Yeah,
wonderful.
I really actually enjoy it. It's transformed through travel, in particular, connecting across cultures. And you talk actually about some of your adventures in here. And I think it's important because, those experiences connecting with people.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of what you were talking about, right? I mean, so much we take for granted, but when you are right there looking in someone's eyes, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So
what you're
share
going.
with us the inspiration behind your book and everything.
Sure. I just realized I had so many awesome, incredible experiences across the world, and I really wanted to share them with people to show them the importance of travel. Everybody knows that travel is fun, travel is necessary for business. People want to go on a leisure trip, but I didn't feel that the world really understood yet the transformative nature and the transformative power of travel, of how it's transformed me, so I know it can transform others, and how it's allowed me to connect with the world and therefore can do so for others. That's my message to my readers.
Nice.
Wow, yeah.
Great.
So what, from your experiences, what would you say to somebody who's trying to kind of get out there and, see some different areas of the world? I mean, what is something that you would recommend?
Sure, just to get out there and place yourself in new and uncomfortable situations. Now, that, to be clear, that doesn't mean put yourself in a knowingly dangerous situation, okay? That means do your research and don't do that. But what I mean by an uncomfortable situation is a place or a situation you just haven't really encountered before, a new country with a new culture. And since we're talking about socioeconomic status, it can be really important to do this um, if you're, let's say, a middle-class American. Put yourself in a situation like, for example, let's talk about the slums in India, in Mumbai, that I visited. Put yourself in a situation like that, um, just to experience the difference. And I think for me, what everyone takes away from it will be different. What I took away, for example, from that experience was um, like an immensely powerful aura of gratitude. Like, oh my goodness, look at my life. It's I have taken so much for granted. Look at what I have. These people don't have so many of the luxuries that I have, and therefore makes me grateful for what I have. And also, another takeaway I had there was um, joy and happiness. It's really fascinating because I saw people who, barely had enough clothing to cover their bodies, but they were smiling and running around and laughing. And I look back at our culture and I look at a lot of people who have a lot of things, material,
Material.
phones, and they are not running around with smiles. And there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. Because I'm sure the land out there is just beautiful and amazing.
Yeah. In India and all across the world, and a lot of the other places I've been to, South Africa, Kenya, this world has so much to offer people in terms of its natural beauty and landscapes. So much to be explored.
So I know you said clothes, people, didn't have enough means for clothing and things like that. What else? Like, was it running water, or what other issues do you feel?
Yeah. For example, another powerful experience I had was in Cambodia, where I decided to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity project, where they were building a school for the children and painting. So I helped paint the school, and I helped teach the children when they came. And this was powerful because like we had to take a smaller road out into a very small village where there was no running water. And these people were living in basically huts, and they had to transport the kids from different locations. So they brought them in like these two trucks things, and like I still get the chills thinking about it, just hearing the kids like yelling like screaming in joy coming up the road, because they were going to have the opportunity to learn. So just having access to schools and education, like this was something that this organization was providing: running water and education for these children who otherwise wouldn't have it, and their appreciation and joy for having that was just so immensely powerful.
That's amazing.
Wow, yeah. And then, I think, that's just so powerful how much we can take for granted on a given day, right? I mean, if we can't charge our devices, we're like, man, my battery died. But just to be able to have, the essential needs, right? I mean, and then I'm sure you've seen just poverty and like the availability of food, I'm sure too. It's got to be really difficult in some areas.
Yeah, well, a really interesting experience I had on that note was in Cuba, and this wasn't talked about in the book, but I remember that was one of the first times where I remember ordering something on the menu, and they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that." I said, "Oh, okay." A little bit strange, but that's okay. That happens. Go, I'll have this item instead. We don't have that either. I said, "Okay. Can I have this one?" No.
But
And
what do it?
right, we had to get to I think it was somewhere between the fourth or the fifth ask to get to what we want, and they just didn't have the access. Like they just didn't have it at the time, and it was something like that was such a foreign concept to me at first. Like, it's on the menu, how could you not have it? To then come to understand that it's a different system. It's a different way a government is regulating and working with an economy and a culture and a country, and there is a different level of access to resources that it just wasn't used to. And it was pretty it was very powerful just to step back and say, okay, wow, I'm grateful that I have enough food to eat every day, and I have choices about food. I have enough money to buy food, and these things.
Wow. Yeah. No, I mean, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So if people want to get a hold of you, I mean, and learn more about what you do and reach out, how can they do that?
Sure. So they can get a hold via email, robert.w.maisel@gmail.com.
Okay.
Can also check out the website, robmaisel.com, to learn more about the travel coaching I do for individuals or the cross-cultural training I do for organizations.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. We'll make sure we get those both up on the screen. And of course, they can get your book. It's available on Amazon.
It is.
So they can search it there. We'll make sure that we get all those links up for everybody to reach out.
And keep doing the great things you're doing, impacting the world.
Thank
Yeah.
you. You ladies keep doing the same and sharing these amazing stories. I appreciate you.
Thank you
Great,
so much.
absolutely. And that's what's really going on. We had some amazing guests, and they really just, talked about some heartfelt issues.
Absolutely. There were some trying topics, but we need to get these out there, because we need to be out there and be supportive of each other.
And that's what I love about our show, because we keep finding out what's really going on.
I am the queen of my throne. 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 They gon' hate when we get on. They gon' hate when we get on. They gon' hate when we get on.